Here's a wild idea. What if we stopped electing people, men, to power who are going to abuse, degrade, corrupt women? What a wonderful world that would be. So pour a drink because you're going to need one. We are bringing you into our group chat about politics and the next generation of leaders in our country. This is Political Playlist Happy Hour.
Welcome to Political Playlist.
All right, are we ready, guys?
Happy Hour.
Happy Hour.
We fucked that up so bad.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Political Playlist Happy Hour. I'm Michael Kristoff.
I'm Anna Muskie-Goldwyn.
And you are dreaming because that doesn't appear as though that's
to be the world that we live in.
I mean, oh my goodness. Playlisters, we're going to get into this news that we're talking about because we have a politician on our playlist this week for all of the wrong reasons.
The wrong reasons.
Yeah, he is on this list. It's more of a, well, I don't know if we can say hit list because that's sort of gives a
I mean, you know what? All bets are off these days, but
yeah, but he's on the shit list.
There you go.
The politician on our shit list this week. But anyway,
we're not hitting play. We're hitting pause.
We're hitting pause,
or
maybe
stop.
even eject. Yeah.
Eject.
Yeah, possibly eject. We are talking, of course, about Congressman Max Miller of Ohio. But before we get to him, Anna, I just want to say hello. It's great to be with you.
Hello.
I am still on Cape Cod. I will return to civilization in due time.
Once you've opened all of your offshore bank accounts.
I'm getting over a little bit of a cold here.
I feel like you are always sick. I will say.
I'm not, but I feel like I've had some colds lately.
Literally, I feel like it's August. Once a month this year, you've been like, oh, I'm just under the weather. But like, I don't know what's going on, but you got to start pumping yourself with some vitamin C or something.
I know. I'm just working all hours of the day here.
Sure. You know what?
I will say I've been vacationing all hours of the day for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
you know what might help?
Yeah.
You know what might help your plague of colds over this year?
Do tell.
Maybe just go to therapy.
Oh.
Maybe it's a psychologically inflicted cold.
Yeah, this is me hitting eject on this episode.
No,
I don't think we'll do that. But what we will do is talk about our man.
By the way, just this for the listener, the watcher, I am just constantly on Michael's case to go to therapy, and he is a wonderful Northeast wasp who doesn't have that in his repertoire. So
I've never been
on it.
I've never been, but I've heard very good
clearly.
things. Yeah. Do they have happy hour there? What's the scoop?
Maybe.
Yeah. That would be a great thing. Doing like a happy hour therapy where you go to therapy, but like with a cocktail and you just sort of chat,
That might be against like medical
HIPAA?
rules, but something. It's like there's a violation in there, but
some violation of HIPAA.
You never know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Talk about our petulant man in Ohio.
Oh, nice. So we are talking about Representative Max Miller because his ex-wife, Emily Moreno, who is the daughter of Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, has accused him of physically assaulting her during a custody exchange of their young daughter and assaulting her in front of the young daughter. Now, I'm going to get into what this is all about, but I want people to understand how this guy got to Congress. So Max Miller represents Ohio's 7th district. He's 38 years old. He served in the Marine Corps Reserve from 2013 to 2019, and he reached the rank of corporal. How do you say that word? Corporal.
You kind of just roll it off. Corporal.
Clearly, I know a lot about the military. He worked as an appointee in the first Trump administration doing advance work, which is basically there's a lot of young people who will like go to a location before the administration gets there to kind of prep for whatever the event or thing happening there is. That's what advance work is. Max Miller was elected 2 terms ago, and this is what's really important, I think, for the reaction and fallout to these accusations. In his last race in 2024, he defeated a Democrat and an independent with about 51% of the vote. So this means that this seat, Ohio's 7th district, under the right circumstances, could be flipped to a blue seat. So I want to talk about what's happening here with his ex-wife. Emily Moreno accused
Can I
Max Miller.
just jump in real quick
Of course.
on that context that you were setting up? I think it's also important to note that Ohio's 7th district still leans Republican. They in 2024, Trump carried it by 11 points. So
Mm-hmm.
what's interesting is like when we've seen these districts where you have like Trump or Kamala carrying it by a lot, but then the local congressional race so close, I think that's really interesting. And this is one of those examples that he only won by 51%, but Trump was way
Right.
ahead.
Right.
So that, it just goes to show you that, yeah, a really good opponent, it doesn't really
Well, and
matter
what it also
necessarily.
means is that as we've seen Trump's approval rating drop a lot, you're
Right.
curious if a lot of those voters don't feel as loyal to the Republican ticket anymore coming into the midterms.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to color that.
That's
more.
okay. So Emily Moreno, Representative Max Miller's ex-wife, accused him of assault that included, and I quote, scalding her chest and stomach by throwing hot water from a skillet at her body, held a gun to her head, pushed her against a wall and hit her head, and fractured their daughter's collarbone and bruised her shoulder. This allegedly happened during a custody exchange. These two share custody of their young daughter. Now, here's what is just so telling to me. Miller said that he did spray her with a sink hose, but denied that the water was scalding. He called it horseplay, but he denies the other allegations. So you're telling me that your wife is coming over to pick up or drop off your young daughter, and you're clearly yelling at her,
right,
I would
doing
assume.
horseplay.
And you pick up the sprayer from your sink and spray it at your ex-wife. That to me, that's gateway behavior to what she is alleging, which is this much more serious abuse. So I just have to say that because it's kind of that's a really weird thing to admit to make us believe that you didn't do the rest of this stuff.
Right, exactly.
So the reason that he was never charged with a crime, even after she reported these allegations, was because the Department of Children and Family Services did not substantiate the child abuse allegations. So there was no ability to prove that the allegations that he had hurt his daughter were true. So the domestic violence abuse allegations never got much merit. But he also faced previous abuse allegations from his ex-girlfriend, Stephanie Grisham. Does that name sound familiar to you?
Sure does. Somebody give me, for bonus points, former Trump press secretary.
So he has now sued Emily Moreno for defamation. He also sued Stephanie Grisham for defamation. So this guy is just handing out lawsuits left and right to try to save his reputation. And now, August 2026, Emily Moreno's lawyer has fired a new restraining order recently after she alleged that Miller had physical and verbal altercations with her attorney. Then this past Sunday, August 2nd, Miller went on a live stream on X, which I'm sorry, if this wasn't so serious, I would just be LOLing. And he denied the allegations and said, would she have made me dinner after I abused her? The way that this guy talks about allegations of domestic violence is so flippant and nonchalant, and talk about, going back to the 1950s or even further. Have you never heard about how domestic abuse victims deal with domestic abuse? They often do, in fact, make their abusers dinner as a way to cope with what is happening.
Right.
And ladies and gentlemen, this guy is still running for office in 2026. Before we get to the responses of all this, what do you make of it?
I mean, I think that this is just so insane and so craven and just also so indicative of where we are right now. To just sort of break this into a few pieces here, his response, I think, is the most telling of it all, which is that this is clearly a guy who is a psychopath. And there is nothing that seems credible in his response. It quite honestly seems like he's just now perjured himself on the record. Obviously, this is in the court of law. It's a live stream, but this will, of course, be used, in evidence. I think that it is insane we are in a place where there are two prominent women who have been in a situation here. One, a former presidential press secretary, two, the daughter of a sitting senator, and they are unable to get people up until now to take these allegations seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about this with somebody earlier today, and they made I think, a really incredible comment, which is, how are we unable in this country to protect women against abuse? There's domestic violence. How is it that this is able to be done? And furthermore, how is it that this is done by our leaders in this country? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is so insane to me. I think that the idea that he is somebody who has an enormous amount of power as a sitting congressman and who is, by all accounts, and maybe some delusional, seeking to continue having that power by running for reelection is insane. And I think that I would love to say that, oh, well, this is a problem that will just be solved by electing young people, which is obviously a platform that we support and the whole ethos behind political playlists. But sadly, I think that this is a great example of how we have gotten so, somebody like him, that the idea that he can be having success is that it is so evident of the place that we're in, where we are just going for policy and party above all
Mm-hmm.
character, above all this stuff. We saw with, by the way, we saw with Graham Plattner, right? So this isn't
Right.
like a just exclusively a Republican thing. That the Democrats are just as guilty of this. But this idea of winning at any cost, that we will overlook all these things. And I want to ask you, and I want you to sort of walk us through what some of the responses have been here, particularly from Emily Moreno's father, Bernie
Yeah.
Moreno, sitting Republican senator from Ohio, which I think,
Well,
to me, that's one of the most outrageous
it's insane.
elements of this. Yeah.
So this is the deal. Bernie Moreno is a very Trump-aligned new Republican senator from Ohio. He's relatively young, and
And he beat longtime Senator Sherrod Brown
correct,
in
a Democrat.
2024. Yeah.
And what is so wild about this is you talk about the winning at all costs. And obviously, Max Miller is a part of the very thin Republican majority in the House right now. Someone like Bernie Moreno is probably very aware of that. What's wild to me is that the public started to get inklings of that this was coming out in May. That was over 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Privately, these accusations took place earlier, much earlier than that. So one assumes, and Bernie Moreno has confirmed, that he knew about these accusations from his daughter before the public did. And he said in the statement he finally made after many days of being silent, he said that he wished that this would all stay private. Okay, Bernie Moreno, you wanted this all to stay private. You knew that your former son-in-law, who apparently hurt your daughter and seems like maybe your granddaughter, was just over there gallivanting around the House of Representatives, and you were never going to try to do anything to get him out of there? Like, I don't care.
That is shocking.
I don't care.
That is disqualifying for Bernie Moreno to be serving as a senator.
Can you imagine being his daughter?
Yeah. Oh my God, that is insane.
Like, hey, Dad, you're not going to do anything to try to get this guy out.
Right.
So that to me is, I mean, forget politics. That's just being a bad parent, first of all.
Right.
But
I think that speaks to this cravenness of these
Yes.
people just doing anything to seek power.
Yes. And so that's one side of it, is that he's being a bad father. The other side of it is that he, when all this started to become public, did not initially say anything, which I think reads as weird. Yeah. Finally, he did. He came out with a tweet saying that he wanted it to all be kept private. Then after this live stream on Sunday, when Max Miller sounded like a fucking idiot and basically was trying to throw Emily Moreno under the bus, finally Bernie Moreno came out and said that Miller is a danger to his daughter and his granddaughter. And I asked him again, then why didn't you say anything earlier? Why did this need to become a public scandal in order for you to have a backbone and go to Mike Johnson and say, hey, you have a member of your coalition in Congress who abused my daughter and does not deserve to be in that position, and I want him out, or at least I am alerting you that he is going to be a problem for you, because now guess what? He is. And I just feel like the layers of this are so crazy, because it's one thing to say Democrat, like, for example, it's one thing to say, Ruben Gallego, your best friend Eric Swalwell was doing this all along and you claim to not know. Okay, that's a very fair line of criticism. Fine.
Right.
It is a whole other thing to say you knew this guy abused your own daughter and you didn't say anything? Like, come on, bro.
I also, you mentioned Mike Johnson, and I think that he had almost as equally deplorable of a response to this, which was, well, these are just allegations and we're going to have this play out and investigate and blah, blah, blah. And, I think that, again, this goes back to just how divided things are, how narrow of a majority he's working with. And obviously, I don't envy his position as far as having to balance this caucus and all of this nonsense. But I think this is where one of the really frustrating things for me, and I think a lot of people, is the people who are in the ultimate positions of leadership, such as the Speaker of the House, not just a leader who's elected official, but part of a caucus. They have a responsibility to police their own. And the Democratic leadership has a responsibility to police their people, such as they did with Eric Swalwell and Graham Plattner and others ultimately. And I think that the reality is that Mike Johnson has failed to do that to an adequate degree on the Republican side of things. And, as we've seen these Swalwell elements, and, the Tony Gonzalez also fell victim to that. But there have been these other things that it just seems like winning and party political control seems to trump, no pun intended, all character and morals and ethics at the moment. And I think that is such a dangerous place to be, because ultimately the only people it's helping are the people in power.
Yeah.
And I think this goes back to the corruption message that we talked about on this week's earlier episode. We're in a place right now where corruption, I think, means a few different things. Yes, it means, enriching yourself and making money at the expense of others. It also means overlooking values and morals and ethics and character to remain in these positions of power, despite being wholly disqualified to continue in them. And I think Max Miller is a great example of that. Do you think he's going to get pressured to resign?
I kind of do.
What's your gut say here?
My gut says that he will, only because, to your cynical point, I think that actually the politics of it are going to catch up with him. Yeah. I think there's like the personal element where I do wonder if Bernie Moreno is finally going to have a backbone and really try to go after him, because I think it makes Bernie Moreno look like a fucking idiot for not doing more. And I think that how can you, if you're a Ohio Republican voter, how can you have respect for your senator who won't protect his own daughter? So I think there's that side of it. But I think the political side of it is going to be a little bit of the Graham Plattner thing, which is, can this guy actually win re-election now in a district where he only got 51% of the vote? I don't think so. I don't think that there are people who are
it sounds like his his opponent now has a real chance. I mean, it's an uphill battle, but in a midterm where there is absolutely a blue tidal wave, and to your point, with a president with historic low approval ratings, really anything, all bets are off, I think, on
So
this.
I think it's up to his opponent to really be laying out the facts, of which
Yeah,
there seem to be many, and of which are mainly very damning. But I think that politically, it might be a Graham Plattner thing, which is Mike Johnson is going to have to bite the bullet of realizing, oh, this actually is going to be more effective if we put up a different Republican candidate, even if that person doesn't have the time to campaign, because maybe they're banking on, to your point, that district actually being more Republican than Democrat. And so maybe if there is
yeah,
a more innocuous Republican on the ticket, maybe they can find someone with name recognition in the district or something like that, that ultimately will force Miller out. I also just think that Miller himself, I mean, as all these guys do, it's the same thing with Swalwell. Like, they all just sound so terrible and stupid when they're trying to deny these things.
yeah.
And like, I encourage people to go, if they can stomach it, watch some of that live that he did on X, because he just sounds so dumb.
There
And
is nothing that feels authentic, sincere, or honest about anything he's saying. It's
well,
like,
and
yeah,
like, we can't forget that there's a child involved in this, right? Which
right,
I
right.
think
Yeah,
makes it
very good
look
point.
infinitely worse for him.
Oh,
And for
agreed.
Byrne and Rado come out and say, I fear for my granddaughter's life, then I'm kind of like, okay, so now, like, what is Emily Moreno going to do? Is this
Hmm.
now the moment where she can finally file for sole custody? Because it seems like that might be what's best for the kid.
Right,
And if that happens, then does that create a domino effect where Max Miller, who no longer has custody of his daughter, is suddenly having to step back politically in order to have some semblance of saving of his own, personal life or relationship with his daughter, which, like maybe he does love his daughter and he's just a fucked up guy, and like, people can, work through that stuff, but they certainly shouldn't be working through it in the halls of Congress. So I think that for people like Trump and Johnson, to your point, who have come out and said, oh, well, these are just allegations. And it's like, yeah, but I think in the political world, we have to start having a standard where allegations are enough. Like, substantiated allegations should be
right,
enough. Yes, maybe in the eyes of the law, you need to
right,
have a trial, you innocent until proven guilty, you need to go through all those steps. But I think when there's something like this, that isn't just random person said so and so, that isn't
right.
just, oh, this might be a political attack because the person disagrees with them politically. When it's like this, and there's such a messy web involved, or when it's like the Graham Plattner thing where it becomes this pervasive pattern, or the Eric Swalwell thing where there was a mounting evidence, despite there not being a legal trial to show that these men have done something bad, we have
Yeah,
to get to a point as a society where substantiated, like, accusations that have merit should be enough to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be in office. You can go have your
yeah,
trial and you can go try to prove yourself innocent, but we should not be okay with you leading us, because
right,
that is our decision. That's not the decision of the court or the decision of the DOJ or the decision of the legal systems we have set up in the country. That's the decision of voters who have moral compasses and can see that, okay, maybe there's an exaggeration here, but if you yourself admitted that you sprayed your wife with a fucking sink hose and horseplay, I'm
right,
sorry, that's gateway drug to you are an abuser. Who does that?
right.
So
Yeah.
that's the standard that I think we need to start setting when it comes to these guys. And I'm like, okay, so can all this, like, maybe scare some of these terrible men from not running for office? Like, that you did
Yeah,
something bad, so maybe just don't run. Like,
right.
maybe
Why
just
do we
try to
keep getting these terrible
maybe just
people?
try to sort through your own shit in
Yeah,
private and stop
yeah,
trying to get power, because it's going to come out. Okay? The PSA to all horrible men out there, it's going to come out. Don't run for
yeah,
office. Go to therapy. bring it back to therapy.
Oh, right. Okay.
Go to therapy. Don't run for office. Try to be a better person. Don't let yourself get exposed for being abusive.
Yeah.
End
And
of story.
how about just like also don't be abusive? Can we maybe
Sure,
start there?
but I'm saying there are abusers out there who are saying, oh, maybe I
right.
should run for office. You know that you were an abuser. Go try to work on that and be a better person instead of trying to coax people to vote for you and then having your life ruined in public.
Yeah. Damn. Amen to that.
I'm out of breath.
Well, if you liked what you heard here, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram and download us wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating. We love seeing those 5 stars. And it turns out we love you as a listener, even if you don't give us 5 stars, but we prefer if you do.